In the heart of America's Rust Belt, these workers in Kokomo, Indiana, built America's transmissions for nearly a century, and now they are watching robots and batteries replace their skilled hands. This is what happens when an entire city's economic foundation shifts beneath its feet in the era of industrial automation. Kokomo calls itself the City of Firsts, and they have earned that title. America's first gasoline combustion engine car rolled out of here, invented by Elwood Haynes in 1894. Stainless steel was invented within these city limits, and the first car radio crackled to life in local workshops. For over 150 years, this place has meant innovation and manufacturing excellence. But today, Kokomo faces perhaps its most dramatic transformation yet, one that cuts to the heart of what American manufacturing work will become. Walk through Kokomo today, and you will see the bones of an industrial empire. The Kokomo Transmission Plant sprawls across 3.1 million square feet, roughly 54 football fields. When it opened in 1956, it represented the peak of American manufacturing ambition. The Kokomo casting plant followed in 1965, becoming the largest die casting factory anywhere in the world. These were not just buildings, they were monuments to American industrial power. For decades, these plants buzzed with skilled tradespeople who understood the intricate dance of gears, shafts, and hydraulic systems that make transmissions work. At its peak, Delco Electronics, a division of General Motors, employed more than 30,000 people in this city of fewer than 60,000 residents. Think about that. More workers showed up to Kokomo each day than lived here at night. The wages reflected how skilled and important this work was. Union jobs at these plants delivered middle-class incomes that supported families and entire neighborhoods. Workers could afford homes, send their kids to college, and retire with dignity. The United Auto Workers Local 685 represented thousands of these workers, negotiating contracts that became the gold standard for manufacturing wages across the Midwest. But the automotive industry never stands still, and Kokomo's workers have weathered multiple storms. The 2009 financial crisis hit especially hard. Chrysler filed for bankruptcy on April 30th, 2009. Sending shockwaves through a community that had built its identity around automotive manufacturing. Between 2000 and 2009, automotive manufacturing jobs in Indiana crashed from nearly 150,000 to 80,000. In Kokomo, workers watched neighbors lose jobs, businesses close, and their community's economic foundation crack wide open. Yet the city survived. Investment returned, plants retooled, and employment bounced back. President Obama visited the Chrysler Indiana Transmission Plant too in 2010, declaring that Kokomo had a storied place in our history. This is a city where people came to invent things and to build things, to make things here in America, to work hard in the hopes of producing something of value and something that people could be proud of. That optimism seemed justified as Stellantis, the company formed through Chrysler's merger with Fiat and later Peugeot, kept investing in Kokomo's transmission plants. Since 2009, the company pumped more than $1.05 billion into these facilities, producing 6-speed, 8-speed, and 9-speed transmissions that power vehicles around the world. But even as these investments continued, a new electric vehicles challenge emerged on the horizon. Electric vehicles. The math is brutal in its simplicity. Internal combustion engines require thousands of precisely machined parts working in perfect harmony. Transmissions are mechanical marvels of engineering, with multiple gear sets, clutches, valves, and control systems. Electric vehicles, by contrast, are elegantly simple. An electric motor spins, wheels turn. No transmission is needed, at least not the complex multi-speed units that have been Kokomo's specialty for generations. Industry analysts at the Center for Automotive Research estimate that the shift to electric vehicles could slash automotive manufacturing employment by 30%, simply because electric vehicles require fewer parts and less labor to assemble. For a city like Kokomo, built around the complex mechanical systems that electric vehicles make obsolete, this represents an existential challenge. The response came in May 2022 with an announcement that seemed to offer salvation. Star Plus Energy, a joint venture between Stellantis and Samsung SDY, would build a massive lithium-ion battery manufacturing plant in Kokomo, what industry insiders call a gigafactory. The initial investment reached $2.05 billion. By October 2023, the company announced a second facility, bringing total investment to over $6.03 billion and promising 2,800 new jobs. On paper, the numbers look promising. The battery plants would create nearly 3,000 jobs in a metropolitan area where unemployment had been stubbornly high. The Department of Energy finalized a $7.54 billion loan to support the project, signaling federal confidence in Kokomo's electric future. But as construction began and the first workers were hired, a more complex reality emerged. The wages told the real story. While company officials promised that average wages would reach $32.07 per hour by 2027, the reality for early workers was starkly different. Reports surfaced of starting wages as low as $19 per hour, a fraction of what transmission workers had historically earned. One worker captured the frustration bluntly. The $19 an hour isn't worth walking through a construction site, one running bathroom, and no drinking water in September. Gary Quirk, president of UAW Local 685, didn't mince words about the transition. It's a spit in the face. This wasn't just about wages, it was about the fundamental nature of the work and what it represented. The working conditions at the battery plant added insult to injury. Reports emerged of ongoing fires, worker injuries, and multiple cases of heat stroke during the summer of 2024. These were not the safe, climate-controlled environments that modern automotive workers had come to expect. They were industrial construction sites where basic amenities like adequate restrooms and drinking water seemed like afterthoughts. UAW President Shawn Fain, who grew up in Kokomo and worked at one of the Stellantis plants, saw the bigger picture with stark clarity. The plan was to draw down the engine and transmission plants and permanently replace them with low-wage battery jobs. Fain's words proved prophetic as 2024 unfolded. Stellantis fired 387 supplemental employees at the beginning of the year. The nearby Tipton transmission plant was put up for sale, eliminating close to 1,000 more jobs. Even as the battery plant ramped up production, the old transmission work was disappearing faster than new jobs could replace it. The human cost of this transition became visible in Kokomo's neighborhoods. The median household income in the city sits at $55,360, while 17% of residents live below the poverty line. The child poverty rate reaches a staggering 29.7%. These aren't just statistics. They represent families struggling to maintain the middle-class lifestyle that automotive work once provided. Yet the workers didn't simply accept this new reality. In a development that surprised many observers, the Star Plus Energy workers voted to join the UAW in May 2025. It was a victory that seemed almost impossible given the challenging working conditions and initially low wages, but it demonstrated the enduring power of worker solidarity. Dave Green, director of UAW Region 2B, celebrated the victory. The UAW members at Star Plus stood up to make sure battery jobs are good union jobs. Workers in Indiana and across the region know they deserve fair wages, workplace protections, and the dignity that UAW members have been fighting for the last 90 years. The unionization victory at Star Plus represented more than just collective bargaining rights. It was a statement about the kind of future Kokomo's workers were willing to accept. They weren't going to quietly transition from skilled manufacturing work to low-wage assembly jobs without a fight. But even this victory came with complications. Just as the battery plant workers celebrated their union win, broader economic forces intervened. In April 2025, the Trump administration's new tariff policies led to temporary layoffs affecting 900 Stellantis workers, including employees at Kokomo's transmission and casting plants. The global economy had once again reminded this industrial community how vulnerable it remained to forces beyond its control. The tariff-related layoffs highlighted another challenge facing Kokomo's transformation. The jobs being created might not be stable enough to replace what was being lost. Manufacturing employment in Howard County had already declined 19% between 2017 and 2021, from 12,110 jobs down to 9,806. Even if all 2,800 promised battery plant positions materialized, they wouldn't fully restore the manufacturing base that had been eroded over the past decade. Mayor Tyler Moore maintained an optimistic public face. The addition of this second battery plant will solidify Kokomo as one of the largest electric vehicle battery producers in North America, and shows that Kokomo continues to remain on the cutting edge of advanced automotive manufacturing. But privately, city leaders grappled with challenges that went beyond just job numbers. The influx of Korean employees and their families, representing roughly half of the projected new workforce, was straining housing markets and social services. Home prices rose more than 7% in 2025, pricing out many local workers even as new opportunities emerged. The city partnered with Indiana University's Institute for Korean Studies to help facilitate cultural integration, recognizing that Kokomo's future success would depend partly on how well it could blend its Midwestern traditions with global workforce realities. Economic development officials like Lori Dukes remained bullish about Kokomo's prospects. Lori Dukes said, "The early history of Kokomo certainly established us in the automotive industry. We know, through this joint venture, that it's going to cement us as a global leader in the automotive industry." Yet questions persisted about what kind of leadership this would represent. Would Kokomo be leading in creating good jobs with sustainable wages, or would it be leading in the race to the bottom that seemed to characterize much of the global battery manufacturing industry? The answer matters not just for Kokomo, but for industrial communities across America facing similar transitions. The shift to electric vehicles is inevitable, but the terms of that shift, who benefits, what kinds of jobs are created, and how workers are treated in the process, remain very much up for grabs. As 2025 progressed, Kokomo found itself at a crossroads that many American manufacturing communities will soon face. The old economy of complex mechanical systems and skilled trades was giving way to a new economy of batteries, software, and global supply chains. The question was not whether this transition would happen, that ship had already sailed, but whether it would lift up working families or leave them behind. The early signs were mixed. The battery plants represented massive investment and technological sophistication, positioning Kokomo as a player in the industries of the future. But the wages, working conditions, and job security associated with this new economy fell short of what the old transmission plants had provided at their best. What emerges from Kokomo's story is a fundamental tension at the heart of America's economic transformation. The country needs to transition to cleaner technologies and more sustainable industries, but that transition should not come at the expense of the workers who built America's industrial economy in the first place. The workers at Star Plus Energy who voted to join the UAW understood this instinctively. They were not opposing progress or trying to hold back the electric vehicle revolution. They were demanding that progress include them, not just as bodies to fill production quotas, but as skilled workers, deserving of decent wages, safe working conditions, and a voice in their workplace. Their fight represents something larger than just one union organizing campaign. It is a test of whether America can manage economic transitions in ways that strengthen rather than weaken working communities. It is a question of whether technological progress has to come at the expense of economic equality, or whether we can build new industries that provide the same kinds of opportunities that the old industries offered at their best. Kokomo's transmission workers did not just build gears and shafts, they built families, communities, and a way of life rooted in the dignity of skilled work. As the city transforms into a battery manufacturing hub, the challenge is preserving that dignity while embracing the technological changes that make transformation necessary. The story is still being written. The second Star Plus plant will not begin full production until early 2027, giving both the company and the workers time to negotiate the terms of Kokomo's electric future. But the early chapters suggest that this transformation will be neither as smooth as city officials hoped, nor as catastrophic as workers initially feared. What's clear is that the wages that once sustained Kokomo's middle class haven't simply been replaced, They are being renegotiated through the complex interplay of global economics, technological change, and worker organizing. The final terms of that negotiation will determine not just Kokomo's future, but the future of industrial America itself. In the end, Kokomo's story reflects the broader American struggle to maintain economic opportunity in an era of rapid technological change. It is a reminder that behind every economic transition are real people with mortgages, children, and dreams that do not easily adapt to the pace of industrial evolution. The transmission workers who built this city understood the value of precision, timing, and getting the gears to mesh properly. As Kokomo shifts into its electric future, those same principles may be exactly what is needed to ensure that economic transformation serves not just technological progress, but human progress as well.